Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to share with you guys how to make some delicious huaraches with carne asada and chorizo. In case you just want to know how to make this super easy and delicious recipe, just stay tuned and I'll show you how. Alrighty guys, so let's get started with our ingredients. So for this recipe we're going to need 2.5 pounds of skirt steak, 8 ounces of your choice of chorizo, 4 nopales, a half a cup of olive oil, a half a cup of freshly squeezed lime juice, 3 cups of maseca, refried beans, 3 tablespoons of lard, a half a teaspoon of baking powder, 1 teaspoon of onion powder, 1 teaspoon of oregano, 1 teaspoon of cumin, and 1 tablespoon of chile powder, salt and pepper. So these are ingredients. Now let's get started. Alright guys, so first we're going to start by making our marinade for our steak. So in a large bowl I'm going to add my olive oil, lime juice, all of our spices, salt and pepper, and I'm using 1 tablespoon of each. So we're just going to whisk it. Into this mix you can also add orange juice, vinegar, onion, garlic, and cilantro, but for this recipe we're just going to keep it simple. So after we mix, we're just going to add our steak. Make sure we coat them. So just make sure that your steak is fully coated with our marinade. Alright, so once we have our steak in our marinade, now we're going to cover it and we're going to let it marinate at room temperature for at least 1 hour. Alright guys, so our meat has been marinating for 50 minutes. At this point we're going to start and begin to make our masa for the huaraches. So in a bowl we're going to combine the masa, the baking powder, and salt. Salt is going to be to your liking. I'm going to add half a teaspoon. So mix it, and of course just make sure that your hands are clean. And now we're going to dissolve our lard. You can also use shortening or oil, whatever your preference is. So just combine your masa with the lard. Alright, so once we have combined our lard with our masa, now we're going to begin to pour some water. Make sure that your water is warm. So we're just going to pour little at a time. Alright, so you're going to need between 2 cups to 2.5 cups of warm water. So once your masa is like this, now we're just going to knead for 5 to 10 minutes. And you're going to know that your masa is done once it doesn't stick to your fingers or to your hand. Alright guys, so once you're able to grab a little ball of masa and you're able to roll it without sticking to your hands, then you know your masa is done. And if you press on it and it doesn't crack on the sides, then definitely it's done. So now we're just going to cover it and let it sit for 15 minutes. Make sure that your cloth is damp. Okay, so after 15 minutes, we are ready to make our huaraches. Now for the huaraches, you can use a tortilla press or they have a press specifically to make huaraches, but I don't have one, so we're just going to use 2 pieces of paper and a cutting board. Okay, so now to make the huaraches, you can make them 2 ways. One, just normal, and then add the beans on top of it after they're done, or stuff the beans inside the masa. So first you're going to start by grabbing a piece of dough just big enough to fit the palm of your hand. And also it's going to depend on how big you want your huaraches. So I'm just going to grab about a size of a golf ball. So then start rolling it, making a little ball. Okay, just like that. And once you have your ball, we're going to transform it into a log. So start rolling it like that. And at this point, you also want to preheat your griddle on medium heat to make sure that your log is even. So it depends on how big you make your log. It depends on how big your huarache is going to be. For me, this is a perfect size. So now I'm just going to place it in the middle of my paper. Just make sure it's all even. Okay, so now I'm going to grab my other piece of paper, place it on top, and my cutting board, we're going to press down. So now it also depends on how thin you want your huarache. Just make sure you press. Okay. Remove your paper. Okay, so once you have it like that, we're going to remove it from the paper. In the same way as you make tortillas, just remove it. Okay, so place it on your griddle. We're going to cook it for 3 minutes on each side. Okay, so once we pre-cook our huaraches, now we are ready to begin and cook our chorizo, nopales, and steak. Alright, so I rinsed my nopales with cold water. So now I'm just going to grab my cast iron. I'm going to set it on medium-high heat. And once that's hot, we're going to place our nopales. And we're just going to season them with salt. So we're just going to cook our nopales for 3 minutes on each side. Alright, so after 3 minutes, we're going to flip it over and cook that side for another 3 minutes. Alright, so after 3 minutes, we're going to remove our nopales from the skillet. Now we're going to repeat the process to the other two nopales. Okay, so once we're done cooking our nopales, we're going to remove the griddle and we're going to begin to cook our steak. So we're going to cook my steaks for 3 to 4 minutes on each side. So after 3 to 4 minutes, we're going to flip them over and cook them for another 3 to 4 minutes. Alright guys, so once our steaks are done, we're going to remove them from our skillet. We're going to place them on a bowl, cover them, and let them sit for about 5 to 7 minutes. And we're just going to repeat the process until we're done cooking all of our steaks. Alright, so once we're done with all of our steaks, now we're just going to turn off our skillet. And we'll come back to it. Alright, so now we're going to begin to cut our nopales and our steak. So the nopales, I'm just going to cut it, lay my nopales like that, and then cut them into little strips. And I'm cutting them 2 at a time. Okay, so now I'm going to grab my piece of steak and I'm going to cut against the grain. And I'm going to cut it the same as I did with the nopal. So just like that. Alright guys, so once we have our steak all nicely cut, now we are ready to put everything together. Now if you want your steak to stay like how it is, then it's up to you. You can leave it like that and just cook the nopales and the chorizo together. But me, I'm going to combine everything together and reheat my steak because I like it well done. Okay, so returning to our stove, we're going to grab our frying pan. And you can use the same skillet that we used to cook our steak and nopales. I'm just going to grab a new frying pan and I'm going to set it on medium-high heat. So we're just going to wait for that to heat up and then we can throw in our chorizo. Alright, so once our pan is hot, we're going to throw in our chorizo and we're just going to break it down. Alright, so once we broke down our chorizo, we're going to add our nopales. Alright, so now we're just going to cook our nopales and chorizo together for a couple minutes. Alright, so after a couple minutes, we're going to throw in our steak. Alright, so just combine everything together and cook it for another 3 to 4 minutes. Alright, so after 4 minutes, our steak and nopales are done. So now we're just going to set them to the side and continue cooking our huaraches and put everything together. Alright, so now we're going to go back to our comal. We're going to set it on medium-high heat and drizzle a little bit of oil. So we're just going to wait for that to heat up and then we're going to place our huaraches. Alright, so once our oil is hot, we're going to place our huarache and we're going to lightly fry it for a few minutes. Alright, so after a couple minutes, flip them over to the other side and cook them for another 2 minutes. Alright, so after 2 minutes, our huarache is done, so now we are ready to put it together. Alright guys, and now for the fun part, putting our huarache together. So I'm going to grab my huarache and I'm going to spread some beans. I personally like my beans spread on top of my huarache. Okay, so just add a good layer. Then we're going to grab our steak en nopales with chorizo. Start placing them. It's okay, it's gonna be for me, so it's okay. And normally they place the whole steak, the whole piece of steak on top of the huarache, but for me, I personally like it, you know, where it's cut. So like that, it's easier for me to eat. So I'm going to top it with some lettuce. And the toppings are going to be optional, up to your liking. Just going to add a little bit like that. We're going to add some crema fresca. Some queso cotija. And of course, our salsas. So I'm going to add some salsa roja. And salsa verde. And I like to eat it with chile toreado on the side. And of course, you can top it with some avocado, but for me, this is perfect. So now we are ready to enjoy our delicious huarache. Alrighty guys, and now for the best part, the taste test. I am so ready. Here it is. And of course, you know, you can make them bigger if you like. Oops, there goes a piece of steak. But of course you can make it bigger if you like, but for me, this is perfect. This is one serving and you will be satisfied. So delicious. Everything is perfect. The chorizo and nopales with the steak, full of flavor. Seriously, you have to give it a try. Alrighty guys, and there you have it, how to make some delicious huaraches with carne asada and chorizo. I hope you guys enjoyed watching this video, and if you did, please don't forget to give me a big thumbs up, share it with your friends and family, and if you recreate this recipe, please don't forget to tag me on any of my social medias, and if you're new to my channel, please hit that subscribe button so you guys can be part of our family. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys on my next video. Bye.
Oh yeah, yeah. Oh, no, no. Eres perfecta mujer, de la cabeza a los pies. Tú pasas de mi nivel, tú tienes el piquete, de la forma que tú ves.